Elara, a diligent archivist, meticulously catalogued ancient text in the hushed, cavernous library. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light, but a deeper gloom clung to the corners, as if shadows themselves held secrets. One particular volume, bound in faded leather, seemed to pulse with an unseen energy. As she opened it, distorted faces, reminiscent of Goya's black paintings, appeared to whisper from the brittle pages. A thin, ethereal mist began to seep from the edges of the book. The whispers grew, echoing from the very walls of the library. Elara looked up, her gaze sweeping across the vast emptiness, and there, within the deepening darkness, she saw them, shadows that moved with an unnatural, predatory grace. Nights became endless, sleep a forgotten luxury. The walls of her small apartment seemed to contort, mirroring the horror of Saturn devouring his son. From every shadowed recess, a pair of unseen eyes watched her. The whispers were no longer just sounds. They coalesced into words. "See us," they urged. "See the truth of reality." Elara stared at her reflection, finding a chilling unfamiliarity in her own eyes. The city streets, once bustling, now felt like the eerie procession from pilgrimage to San Isidro. Every face was a mask, every smile a hollow pretense. Elara felt utterly alone amidst the throng. In a desolate park, figures knelt, much like those in Men Reading, but they weren't reading. They were whispering, their hushed tones seeping into Elara's mind, twisting her thoughts. Returning home offered no solace. The shadows had grown bolder, reaching out from the walls like the monstrous creatures in Witches' Sabbath. The air crackled with their malevolent presence. Sleep, when it finally came, plunged her into nightmares that mirrored the infernal landscapes of A Man Asleep, The Sleepers. Elara found herself teetering on the edge of an abyss, the whispers now a chorus of torment. She awoke to a room utterly transformed. Everything was distorted, warped like the desolate expanse in The Dog. But within that emptiness, countless eyes gleamed unblinking from every surface. The whispers intensified, becoming a piercing shriek. The shadows solidified, taking on grotesque forms. Elara felt herself locked in a desperate struggle, like the figures in Fight with Cudgels, battling her own fracturing mind. The line between reality and nightmare blurred. She saw herself in La Laocadia, a somber figure before a desolate landscape, but the figure behind her was not a ghost, but a reflection of her encroaching madness. The air grew cold, filled with the stench of decay. Figures from the Fates seemed to weave her destiny, their skeletal fingers pulling at the threads of her sanity. A chilling wind swept through her apartment, carrying with it the distant, mournful wails of two old men eating soup. Their hunger was not for food, but for her very essence. She tried to escape, to run, but the path ahead was endless, like the desolate road in the pilgrimage of San Isidro. Each step brought her deeper into the nightmare. The figures from Asmodea began to appear, not as static paintings, but as living, breathing entities, their eyes burning with ancient malevolence. They were guardians of the abyss she was falling into. Her own reflection in puddles on the street showed a face not her own, but a distorted visage from the drowning dog, slowly sinking into the mire of despair. The sounds of the city morphed into a cacophony of screams, like the tormented souls in The Great He-Goat. She covered her ears, but the sound was inside her head. The library, her sanctuary, now felt like a tomb. The books themselves seemed to breathe, their pages rustling with unseen presences, like the figures in The Old Man and the Young Man. She saw herself in the procession of the Holy Office, a victim led to an unknown fate. The eyes of the crowd were on her, judging, condemning. The whispers culminated in a deafening roar. The shadows solidified into monstrous entities, their forms a terrifying blend of human and beast, like the most grotesque details from Saturn Devouring His Son and Witches' Sabbath. She was no longer fighting her mind, she was fighting them. Their cold, spectral hands reached for her, pulling her deeper into the canvas of madness. The air vibrated with their hunger. A final, desperate scream tore from her throat as she was dragged into the swirling vortex of black and gray, the very texture of Goya's darkest visions. The library was silent, warm, the dust motes dancing in the faint light. The ancient book lay open on the table, its pages now blank, its whispers gone. But something new had appeared on the wall. A new black painting had manifested, a chilling portrait of a woman with vacant, knowing eyes, her face a canvas of despair. Elara was gone, but her essence remained, a permanent fixture in the gallery of shadows.